Hello, Guardians. It is Ebontis here, and a couple announcements before we get into part 2 of the season's words from Luke Smith. Two things. One, if you didn't catch the Last Word podcast, it will be up on the YouTube channel and audio coming soon. Two, I'm doing a giveaway for 2 copies of Destiny 2 on PC. What they include are basically everything through Forsaken itself. It does not have the annual pass, but they are on PC. And the big thing to know is on Battle.net, you cannot make any more Destiny purchases on Battle.net on September 3rd. So when September 3rd happens on Tuesday, no more Battle.net purchases are going to be available. But the thing to know is if one of you earns the Forsaken Legendary Collection, the annual pass is only $15. So you can unlock the annual pass for $15, and if you get one of these copies, you'll literally have all of Destiny 2 through year 2 for $15. Pretty cheap. If you enjoy the game, if you think you might, remember, if you do win the copy, get that annual pass ASAP, because I'm going to try and run it as far as I can through Monday so I can reach out to the winners as quickly as possible. So, just wanted to get that out there. The link is in the description below. Check that one out. And also, if you didn't see the first part of this series, talking about the evolving world of Destiny, that link is below in the description. I'll also have a link at the end as well. So, a couple links for you guys if you guys want to check those out. But now we're on part 2. We're talking about rewards. And one of the big ones is the rewards that you're going to be able to get from the artifact. Basically, they've said, we know we like RNG on weapons. Yes, the random rolls that we get are cool. Now we're going to have Armor 2.0 with stat rolls. We're going to have mods that we can slot in, but it's going to be about the stats and the tiers of the stats and all that stuff we'll get to later. But when it comes to some of the rewards that people want to chase, it would be nice to have a linear path. Would be have a nice way to go from point A to point B and know at some point along this progression, I'm going to unlock this, and this. Okay? And that's something some people really like to be able to do. So they're adding that into the seasons in the way of the artifact. A couple things to know about the artifact. It is only going to last for the season. So at the end of Season of the Undying, this thing is no longer going to be effective, or it's just straight up going to go away. I don't know if it's just going to fall off of your inventory, or if it's just going to be inactive, and then you can dismantle it if you want to. But either way, the mods that you get from this are only going to be Season of the Undying worthy, basically, and then all the things that you get from the artifact will go away at the end of the season. So there's 2 things that it does. One, it sets the precedent up front of how this content is going to be released. 2, it makes sure and kind of ties it into the season and the lore narrative that they're trying to work on. And 3, what it mainly does is it allows Bungie to swing a little farther into the powerful Guardian setting and experiment with some things with the knowledge that after 3 months, if something is a really OP setup or just completely broken, that it's not going to be there and the game isn't broken forever. They're not adding things permanently to the game now. They're going to give you some things. You're going to earn a weapon, you're going to keep it. You're going to earn a set of armor, you're going to keep it. You're going to get triumphs, emblems, chips. That stuff's not going anywhere. But say there's a crazy mod on the 5th tier of this artifact and it just absolutely breaks the game. Well, next season it's not going to be there, but we all know that up front. It's not going to be like, oh no, you took my really cool mod that I earned, or I got Whisper of the Worm and now you had to nerf it. So there's different reasons that they want to do this, but one is they want to allow they want to allow themselves to experiment, and they also want to potentially steer your builds a little bit. Now, there are a couple things the artifact does. One, it unlocks mods, which you can see all of them there. There's 25 of them, and you've got different tiers you unlock as you go and level up your artifact. Those are going to be mods that you can use on weapons and armor that are going to do different things depending on their cost and value and such. The other thing it's going to do is give you a bonus power level. It is account-wide, which is really cool, so it doesn't matter which character you're playing on. You're always working on progress to this, and this bonus power level is on top of your gear. So if your gear gets up to, 950, 960 to the cap, but then you have, as you see here, it's got plus 14 power on the artifact. In essence, when you're playing in certain activities, which I'm assuming it's not, and this is just an assumption, could be completely wrong, but I assume Iron Banner or Gambit Invasions, basically anywhere where light level matters in a competitive Guardian setting, this bonus power probably will not be in effect. But everything else, PVE, raids, strikes, all that stuff, in my mind, this likely should be active. Now, maybe there's a really high difficulty where this isn't, kind of caps you at a certain point. But the main idea here is you're going to be able to earn bonus power level just by playing the game. So just by running strikes, playing a few Crucible matches, doing a little bit of Gambit, actually running a raid, you're going to get value out of that in the way of experience by leveling up your artifact. And that is going to be a continuous thing that really has no end for the season. How high can you go in the season? They say they're both excited and terrified to find out, but we're going to probably see some pretty high numbers at a certain point. So that'll be kind of fun. The other thing about the artifact is that, as they say, they want to basically experiment with their sandbox. So to describe what they're talking about, if you look at the 5th column, there's 2 mods that describe this very well. You've got the top right corner, the finisher that drops heavy. So take a raid team of 6 people. Okay, 1 or 2 people max, maybe 1 even. This is just their sole job. They go full on super, so intellect spec for their stats. They try and get as high there, don't really care about anything else, maybe resilience just so they don't die. Then everything they have is built towards getting super energy, whether it's, super kill, or when you get hand cannon kills, it's supers, or when you get heavy kills, it's super energy, or grenade kills, like Ashes to Assets would be a good one to pair with that, so you're continually building super energy. The main idea is when you use your super, or when you use your finisher to drop that heavy ammo for your entire team, it's going to use half your super. So what is your goal? To build your super back up as quickly as possible so you can constantly be dropping heavy ammo. Your goal typically is not going to be doing DPS as much as it is going to be supporting your team with those heavy bricks everywhere you can get them. Now, on the other side, something like Bad Juju could make this really crazy. Getting super back constantly, killing lots of enemies. If you face something like a horde mode and you're constantly out there just shooting a lot of enemies, getting super energy back, and then all of a sudden, guess what? You finish and you use half that super energy, still shooting enemies, use that super energy. So you never use the super, but you're popping heavy constantly. That could get to a point where it's kind of broken. We don't know. It has potential to be cool, and I think they probably have tried to balance it, but you never know what the player base is going to find. Another one that I've talked about is the second one right there. Right below that for 6 energy. Basically what it states is a void grenade, while damaging an enemy, will weaken them. So the way the new basically damage changes are going to work, an enemy can only have 1 debuff, whether it's a tether, whether it's a hammer strike, whether it's a tractor cannon, whether it's this thing. That is the only debuff you can get. Now, we don't know how strong that's going to be. Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's not that strong, but the fact that you can weaken an enemy from range by throwing your grenade can potentially have some power. And in my mind, I could see Sentinel Titans actually being quite powerful with this as well. Take the Titan going into Shadowkeep that's going to have Ward of Dawn that has Weapons of Light. Okay, so the Titan pops the bubble, everybody goes in, picks up their Weapons of Light. They're the first one to pop out, they throw the grenade, it debuffs the enemy. So what you have done right there is buffed your team with increased damage, and then debuffed the enemy, all within one person. You don't need one person debuffing the enemy, running up with a Titan knee in the face, or one person running tether who can't do much damage with their super, and another one running Well of Radiance. What you're basically doing there is you're going to allow some weakening of the enemies, and then also a buff to your team, which is going to be decently powerful. And you're going to be able to output a lot of DPS because you're not going to have one person on a tether, one person on a Well of Radiance. One person could potentially do all of that stuff, and that other person could now be more specialized into, say, a Celestial Nighthawk Titan instead of a tether. More damage output could be potentially huge with this, and again, maybe this is broken. But what this allows them to do is say, hey, we're going to try some fun, crazy mods. If they're cool, people like them, they're kind of a fun thing, they may throw them in as mods you can earn later, maybe raid drops or exclusive things, who knows. But if it's completely broken and busted, at the end of 3 months, we all know it's going away. There's no guarantee any of it's coming back, and the game won't be broken for 5, 6, 7 months because of one thing they introduced. It's not going to make every single boss easier. It's going to be 3 months long. If it's done, and then it moves on. So you've got potential here with all of that to let them experiment more, get out of kind of the box of PVE can't be too broken, and step outside that a little farther, but know that it's not going to be forever in the game, which is just really, really nice. Now, the other thing about the artifacts is just the fact that the mods that we see are going to be potential game changers. Now, the second call of mods is all related to the Nightmare Hunts, and this is a speculation I had before of what was going to be somewhat temporary content. Well, they have clarified that. The temporary content is going to be the seasonal activity. This time, with the Vex Invasion or whatever Season of Undying has, is going to be a Vex activity, kind of a match-made Vex activity that you're going to be able to do. Maybe different difficulties are on there, different wards you can get from it, higher tier armor, all that type of stuff. that is the thing that is going to be temporary. So this is where it kind of threw me into a loop. The second column of mods is all related to the nightmare hunts, which does make sense to a point that your, artifact is going to be part of those. But also it makes me wonder two things. Either at some point those nightmare hunts are going to go away because maybe some progression of the Shadowkeep story moves forward, we've stopped the nightmares from happening and something else happens. And then the mods with this with this artifact are no longer needed as well. Or the other option is each seasonal artifact, say in that second column, is going to steer you to use a different meta. So right now you can see you've got the top one is of the second column with the little triangle. It's got auto rifles and submachine guns because I've looked at the description. And that's the barrier mod. Below that, you've got hand cannons for the barrier mod. Then below that, you've got auto rifles for the overload. And you've got bows for the overload. And then finally, we've got hand cannons. I still don't know what that bottom one is. Look to the right of that. Well, you've got auto rifles, submachine guns, bows, and hand cannons, all with enhanced reload or perk options that you can choose. Fusion is in there too. But all of those are there, and enhanced reloader is cheap. Do you all think perhaps that hand cannons, which is going to be one of the exotics that's coming, we'll cover in a separate video, but that one might be powerful. Also, auto rifles and submachine guns listed on 2 separate mods for a very important activity on the moon. Either they want us to use auto rifles, they're going to make auto rifles powerful, or they just want to mess with the meta enough that, you can have auto rifle barrier mod and auto rifle, enhanced reloader for really cheap mods. So it is probably going to be advantageous to use that type of weapon as opposed to a pulse rifle. They're going to kind of steer the direction they want you to play. But also the thing is, say next season's artifact is completely different. Maybe the nightmare hunts on the moon are still there. So now they say, okay, pulse rifles, scout rifles, fusions, and snipers. And that's what you're going to have, those barrier, overload, and that's going to be your mods. And you're going to have content that you had been playing the nightmare hunts with very specific auto rifles, hand cannons, and bows. And then all of a sudden, the mods that were working no longer are, and the enhanced reloaders potentially are not there anymore. So the build that you need to take into those nightmare hunts that you've played before potentially is going to be completely different. So that's a way to help keep some content fresh. At least relatively fresh. I mean, we know what it is, but if you go in with a completely different loadout, could work differently. And then also, it allows them to mess with the meta a little bit. So if it's going to be in your favor to go run a hand cannon or a bow, well, it might actually be, depending on what we have going on. So the artifact is a really cool thing. You've got account-wide power boost level, which I think that's going to be an experiment to see how it goes, because if you are 960, but then you have like 57 more power level and you're sitting there like, I don't know, at 100 or 1017 power level, are you OP for everything, including all the raids and the high level difficulty? Or how long does it take up to get 50 bonus power level? We don't know all that, and Bungie won't quite know until they get in the player base, and some which are crazy and play, 8 hours a day, and some people play 2 hours a weekend. So they're trying to give different people different grinds, and I think that's really cool. The people who play 8 hours a day, like 5 days a week, are probably going to have a pretty damn high power level, but also know that they've put in time and they've probably mastered the content as well. On the other side, you've got people who play 2 hours a day. They don't know what they're really able to progress on, but at least on whichever character they play, they can make bonus progress. This thing is account wide. And the fact that these mods are going to help them in their activities that they're working on so they can be more successful even if they don't play 1,000 hours a week. So it's a really cool system, I think. I'm really excited to see what this artifact and then future artifacts do, because some of the mods have potential to be really cool. I still don't know a clue what any of the 4th level mods do. And then the 5th one, I've seen some of them and they have potential to be really cool. So I hope this is kind of a brief explanation of what we can expect with the artifact itself and what it's going to be able to bring to the table for Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. If you guys haven't seen, as I said, the previous version of this, I kind of went into my thoughts about the evolving world. Next, what I'm going to talk about is the ranks when it comes to seasons. And they're kind of involving something like a battle pass. So stay tuned for that one. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button. I will get that content out this weekend, so I'm going to be dropping these as we go. And also, the Last Word podcast will be up on audio platforms coming up here soon as well over the weekend. So, podcast and more videos to come. So, follow the channel if you haven't yet. Also, if you're already subscribed, hit that alert bell. That'll keep my videos coming to you. If you haven't followed me on Twitch or Twitter, it's just Ebontis on both. And other than that, you guys are amazing. Have an awesome weekend and more of this to dissect in the future. So, have a good one. I'll see you soon.